Hello everyone, this is Ronnie and I've not been posting videos in a while. I've been away at the Woodstock Fruit Festival and before that I was in Mexico for 2 weeks to try and get into the US. So successfully made it there, made it to the festival, had a great time. I'll probably make a separate video all about my experience at the Woodstock Festival. But I'm back making videos again. I'm sorry for not really, I don't think I put anything out really over the last month or something. Or yeah, about a month. So and no podcasts either or anything. Should have been more planned. Should have had things scheduled to go out. Should have done all that thing. Didn't do that thing. And apologies for to all of you who are looking for some stuff. Didn't do the Fruity Fridays. Um, did it in Mexico one time I think, but didn't do it after that. So we're gonna do it this week. Fruity Fridays will be back. Everything will be back. Podcast will be back. And let me tell you, I guess, the story of what's been happening to me the last month. So the UK Fruit Fest finished on the 7th of August, or 6th or 7th of August, and the next day I flew out to Mexico. And on the days leading up to that, people were telling me Mexico's on the red list. Mexico's on the red list. So I was already thinking something that I'm probably not going to get to Woodstock. You know, that's my mentality was really, I'm going to try and go. It's my aim, it's my goal, but maybe something's going to show up, right? So I wasn't in the most positive minded attitude. I was being very realistic. And so people were saying Mexico's on the red list. So I thought, oh, what does that mean? So Mexico inexplicably had been added to the UK red list, which meant if you come back from Mexico, you had to quarantine in a hotel and buy like a £2,000 or £2,500 10-day stay in a quarantine hotel and all this nonsense, um, complete nonsense. Why stay in a hotel and not your own house? Nonsense, total nonsense. Like everything in the past 18 months, complete lies, absolute nonsense, garbage. And anyway, so I was in the airport and this guy was like, "This is the last flight out to Mexico. This is the last flight." I don't think that's really true, but he was acting like it was. And it might have been, maybe it was the last flight out, but I don't think so. I think, well, maybe people stopped booking flights to Mexico after that, probably. And so, why did the UK do that? Well, Mexico is a country that didn't need any testing, wasn't asking for vaccinations. Every shop in Mexico, you need a mask to get into, which is stupid. Only the dumbest. Well, we've all become really dumb. Used to be really dumb countries, really stupid people would be asking for people to wear masks, like going into banks and things like that. Stupidity of it is unbelievable. But stupidity of being in a restaurant, putting on a mask, taking on a mask, then you can eat. It's just such stupidity on a scale that we've never seen before. Anyway, the world is full of stupid people, and we have to bow down to them and make sure that their emotions aren't affected or something. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why I'm letting all this frustration come out, but anyway. So red list, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I can't get to Mexico, and I'm kind of like, I was looking at the rules and it says Mexico doesn't need testing. I'm like, they really don't want you to test. That's interesting. They don't need vaccines. Okay, so I head over to Mexico on a flight. Flight's fine. I might have even had maybe I even had a seat to myself or a row to myself. I'm not sure. I might have had a row to myself actually. Yeah, flying over there might have. That's quite nice. So head over to Mexico. I actually had a row to myself on the way back as well, which is very, very nice. Anyway, went over to Mexico. Um, got in. Okay, great. First stage, I got into the country and get on this bus to go to a place called Playa del Carmen. So I'd flown into Cancun. My friend Grant was at Playa del Carmen. This is the place to be, according to him. So I get on this bus to Playa del Carmen. Of course, when you touch down in a tropical country, things are different. Everything smells different. things smell different. Like the flowers are different. Everything's different, so things smell different. The air's different, whatever. So, and notice it's a little bit hot, And then get on the bus, go to this place, and it stops. And Grant had given me some instructions to get to the hotel, so I was going to go and stay in the same hotel as him, at least for the first few days. So I'm walking down this main street, and I'm trying to remember what time of day it was really, but it wasn't quite midday. It'd probably been after midday. And I'm walking down. Oh no, it was earlier. It was a bit earlier than midday, yeah. So I'm walking down this kind of main street with all these shops and tourist stuff and everything, and I'm starting to go. This is super hot. This is really hot. Like, and I was struggling. I'm thinking, am I jet lagged or tired or what is this? And I'm like, no shade anywhere. No shade. No, none of these shops have any shade over them. So I'm walking in this, like, this is really super hard. I eventually get to this hotel. Obviously, I've got a bag on and everything, and get in and get everything, and it's all good. And that night we went out. I think we went out to a dancing thing. Grant was doing dancing over there, learning how to do salsa. Went out to this dance thing, pretty cool. People were dancing. I was just sitting, relaxing, and all that. I don't know how to do salsa, so I was happy. And the next day, I think we went to a cenote, which is a watering hole place where you can swim. It's like a natural watering hole. So I think it was the next day we went out there. And I'm just noticing once again, walking to the bus, I'm like, this is super hot. Like, I'm really struggling with this heat. And then walking to the cenote from the bus stop, and I'm like, this is hard. Like, this is really tough. And then we get to the watering hole, we jump in the water, and we have a great time. We had a great day. There was a big cliff jump. Not too big, but maybe 5 meters or something. Not huge, but enough that for me getting up there, I was like, this is pretty high and pretty uncomfortable to do this. But pushed myself and managed to do it. And then we set a challenge to do it 10 times because I thought that I'll never be able to do this 10 times. And managed to do it. And it was felt great, like a real challenge. It felt amazing, and I kept on going out to Grant about how I feel amazing that we've completed this 10 jump challenge of this cliff. Then we went back home and everything, and it was all good. And then, I don't know if it was the next day or that night or whatever, the next day probably, we went for a walk, and we were going to go for a walk and a swim. And this was in the evening, this is like 4 o'clock, right? So, oh, by the way, just as an aside, I'll talk about the fruit quality in the place I was in Mexico. So we went for a walk. And we're going down the beach to find a place to swim, and he starts to point out the water's full of this seaweed. It's massively full of all this brown seaweed. The water's all brown, so we have to go way up. It's like a seaweed pollution to try and find a place where there's less seaweed. And we're walking and walking and walking, and I'm in this heat, and I'm just collapsing. I'm just like, this is tough. We had to stop at one point, sit in the shade, and I'm like. But the day before we'd done the challenge, so I'm like, okay, this is the challenge for today. Keep going, keep going. So I was out of it, but walking in this heat. Eventually we got to a place. This is miles up this beach. We got to this place to swim. And Grant's super fit, way fitter than me, so he's going quite fast. So we swim. Then Grant has to go back to a dance class. So he runs back. And I'm walking back, and it's still hot. It's like later in the day, and it's still hot. It's still uncomfortable. We're walking. It's on a beach. I'm walking on my own now. Miles to get back to this hotel. Miles and miles and miles. Walking. Struggling. In all this heat and everything. No sunburn because I protected myself with sun lotion. So, eventually get back. Not feeling that great. Next day, at least 2 days, intensely bad. I felt really bad. I had a headache. I had body pains and everything. I guess it might have been heat exhaustion, dehydration. I don't know, a combination of things. I was not well in Mexico the whole time because of that, I think. Maybe I got a virus as well, I don't know, but I did test negative for COVID, so it wasn't that. But I was out of it mentally. Physically was not right. Could not go outside in that heat. Just could not go outside in that heat. It was 32 degrees throughout the day, but with the humidity, it was 37 degrees. I am not used to that. And I was struggling and I was hating it, to be honest. Really not liking the fact that going outside meant either going out super early in the morning, super late at night. The rest of the day was just way too hot to go out. I had to take short bursts of going out, and I was just cooking, and like nearly fainting and stuff. Really tough, and a lot of the time I just spent in bed, lying down, drinking water, a little bit of fasting because my basically desire to eat went away. I was trying to continue to eat, but wasn't enjoying it, so that went away. The fruit quality in Mexico, I didn't have everything. My taste was a bit funny. Um, we could get mamey sapote, you could get sugar apples and all that stuff. Jackfruit, I think a little bit, but I wasn't like amazingly impressed by it. It wasn't that great. I don't think they're much of a fruit eating country. They had mangoes. I think they were okay. Um, so they had a lot of things imported from the US, funnily enough, and expensive. It was the same prices as the US, pretty much the same prices as the US. I think it was more expensive than the UK. A lot of the fruit there, I think, it was more expensive than here. Um, it's Mexico. I don't understand, but anyway, there was papayas. I really wasn't sure what to kind of live on. The bananas were okay. So I wasn't super amazed by that, but that's fine, whatever. I mean, I'm sure I could have found better places, but it was everything was like a little bit expensive. I wasn't enjoying eating things anyway because of the taste thing, and wasn't enjoying myself being there. So I was struggling even to be there and didn't enjoy it. Later on, a few people have said to me, I went to Woodstock. People were saying, "Oh, that place is really hot. Like that's one of the hottest places I've been." And another guy who goes to Mexico was saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have went there. You should have went to some other places." He was talking about. So I don't know why Grant loves that place or why he wants to be there. I don't really understand. It was I didn't think it had much to it, but anyway, I was there. That's where I was, and then the last few days there's a tornado warning, and I'm thinking, oh god, tornado, storm warning, whatever it was, hurricane, and there was a hurricane kind of a thing. It wasn't too bad, but there was a storm. I'm thinking, oh, I'm not going to get. Here's what I'm not going to get out of this country. I'm not going to be able to travel. And then coming up to traveling, then there was another thing. There's a hurricane or a storm in the U.S. and I think, oh, that's going to stop me from traveling. And somehow that didn't, and I somehow got to the airport and everything. Had everything ready. Had my COVID test, which was negative, which I was kind of amazed by because I thought, well, I've been sick. Maybe I've got COVID. Didn't have COVID. Amazingly enough, got the negative. So my second negative test. Um, got all my documents ready for getting in the US. My COVID test, my flight out of the US, my ESTA, which is a visa, online visa thing for the US. Where I was going to stay, all that stuff. Got it all ready. And managed to get in the US. And I was kind of amazed by that. I'm like, okay, wow, I've got in. Now I had to try and get up to Woodstock. So despite hurricanes, tornadoes, all this stuff, somehow got in. Now I'm going to try and get up to Woodstock. I'd arranged for a friend to pick me up. My friend picks me up, Raphael. He picks me up from the train station, the airport, and he's going to take me to the train station. And then he says, "Oh, I'll just take you." He was kind of like, "I'll take you up to the Woodstock. I'll take you up to the whole thing." And I said, "No, it's further away than you realise. It's not the town of Woodstock. It's like 2 hours further." So it was a 5.5 hour drive. So I said to him, "If you just take me to the train station in New York City." So he took me to the train station, and I get on a train to a place called Albany Rensselaer, and another friend of a friend who I'd never met before had agreed to pick me up and take me to Woodstock. So it was kind of like relying on all these different favors from people to try and get up there, because I couldn't take the bus because the bus had left earlier, the festival bus. So I get there. I get up to Rensselaer. The guy picks me up. He's an awesome guy, Ray, and his wife, and they picked me up. And he had a map written out, and he got exactly to the place. But even then, there was a flood warning that night and a storm that night, and he was saying, "I thought you might have to stay in my house because there's going to be so much water." But we got through it. We got to the camp eventually, and I was like, and I was there, and I was happy, and everything was good. And I was just amazed that I got there. I was so excited on the way there, still feeling not that great for Mexico, but basically as soon as I left Mexico, I started to feel better, right? So I don't know what happened there. Started to feel better. It was good to not be in the absolute blazing oven heat, and yeah, it was just great. And I got there, and immediately I saw some friends and some people, and I just thought, this is fantastic, this is great. I got to my room. um had a private room this year, and it was a rustic private room. It was pretty rustic. It was right beside the kind of forest and the trees and everything, and there was a light outside, and there was a lot of bugs in the window, an awful lot of bugs on the window and inside. So I had to clean all that, and get all these bugs away and spiders and stuff and whatever else, and fix the room up a little bit. But that was all good, and I'll talk more about my week there, I suppose. But that's the journey of getting there, and the kind of craziness of getting there. So I've been not very active. I was going to make videos in Mexico and do stuff. I was just out of it. I was just sick, heat exhausted, whatever it was. My body was just needed to rest, and I was not happy. I don't like being sick. I don't like being. I try and take great measures to avoid that. And when you make one silly mistake and end up sick, it's really frustrating. Really frustrating. And I maybe shouldn't have really been in that place. It was too hot, and I hadn't been told by anyone. Oh, by the way, this is blazing hot, like the surface of the sun. I might not have went to that place if I'd been told that. So it's like the hottest time of the year as well. It was the hottest time of the year. So wasn't enjoying it, wasn't feeling good the whole time. Just in a hotel room, drinking water pretty much. Didn't water fast the whole time. I was eating most of the time. But the food was not tasting right to me. A lot of you have maybe had that experience with detox and stuff and things. It's not tasting right. It's not tasting good. You're tasting it, it's like, it's not satisfying, it's not enjoyable. And you can eat it, but you're just like not enjoying it. And so but that's what it was, and and that's it. That was the journey. It was tough to get there, but really, as long as I had all the things in a line, the tests and all that stuff, um, the documents, I got through. I got through. No, not really any problems. Um, of course, you have to wear a mask in the plane. You have to wear a mask in all these blooming places. The mask thing is just, the whole thing is bananas. This needs to stop. Like, why are people still going along with this? It's horrible. I guess some of you that watch this maybe are still going along with this, and you're like, yeah, let's get another vaccination, then it'll end. No, they're going to ask for you to do another vaccination. Oh, then we can take the masks off. Once we do what they say. No, they'll just do another thing. So vaccine number 3, vaccine number 4, vaccine number 5. When are you gonna start realizing it's all nonsense? It's all nonsense. It's an absolute scam. The whole thing. Here's what really makes me realize it was doesn't make me realize it was a scam. It was a further confirmation. I'm thinking, right, everyone must realize this is a scam now. Everyone must realize. You have to be stupid. You have to be an absolute idiot not to see this. The UK develops a vaccine, supposedly, and starts a heavy vaccination program across the country. Apparently, a lot of people in the UK are vaccinated. They say 80% plus. Maybe that's right, maybe it's not, who knows. So you would think, well, that's it. Well, of course, that's not it. People are still wearing masks in certain places, and people are still being dumb. And people are still having to vaccinate and all this stuff when they come back, or test, or people are still testing hundreds of thousands of tests every day. Now, you would think, if this is science and all this stuff, that the scientists and the science could agree on the simple data of looking at, does this vaccine work or not? So if it works in the UK, it should work all over the world. But no, because the US doesn't want a UK company to make their vaccine, because they don't want to give billions of dollars to the UK, to a UK based company, and hundreds of millions of dollars of taxes to the UK government. They want to give that to their own companies that they're connected to, that their politicians are getting money from, right? That affect their stock and their economy. So the UK vaccine is not good enough for the US. It's also not good enough for Germany and other countries. It's purest of nonsense, pure bullshit. Because how could the scientists, all been trained in the same thing, same subject, same everything, how could they in one country say this works and another country goes, no, that doesn't work? Same data, same numbers. So it's all nonsense, it's all lies. It's all been lies from the start. And the US, I don't know, they've got their own vaccines with their own companies. You know, that's how it works. So that's why I didn't have to get a vaccine to travel to the US. I've still not been vaccinated. I've travelled around the world during this pandemic and not been vaccinated once. Never been asked to. So I have to quarantine on the way back here because I'm not vaccinated, which is remarkably stupid as well, because I've got a negative test. I've got no symptoms. So anyway, thanks for watching. That's the first part of that adventure, and I'll probably talk more about the festival itself and then coming home in another video. But I'm back. Please feel to say hello below. Let me know what you'd like me to do more of, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.